I'm Kevin Dykstra with the History Channel's The Curse of Civil War Gold. Thanks for joining me again. I hope you enjoyed the first two videos that we did. This third video that we're doing is going to be one of my favorites because it really changed the scope of my research. After doing the research, I started coming up with this feeling like these men, after the Civil War, they all did great things. They all did wonderful things, helped out their community a lot. They just didn't fit what I thought a criminal should fit or a thief should fit. So I started to have doubts about the integrity of these guys because for a long time I kind of thought they were all thieves. So what we showed in episode 1 was Grace Ann with the coin. The reason I wanted you to see that was because it certainly shows that Colonel Minty had some of that gold from the capture. Not only did he have it, he was comfortable enough to share it and put it in photograph. So that was really interesting. How could you steal something and then show it to the world that you have it? So that was a challenge for me to try to figure out how he could feel so comfortable with that. So in episode 2, we talked about Colonel Pritchard riding all the way back down to Irwinville, Georgia, to bury that gold. It was a huge task for him. I mean, he had to be exhausted after he did that, but according to my research, he did just that. He rode it all the way down. So I started looking into these guys, this gold, and I found that there was a reward poster offered for the capture of Jefferson Davis. The reward poster offered $100,000 for the capture of Jefferson Davis, which I thought was really interesting because it stated in the poster that the reward was to be paid out of the treasure, the gold and silver that he was carrying. So this is where my thought pattern was. We have Colonel Minty, who has some of it. We talked about James Lynch, who we believe had some of it, and now some of it is going to be offered up as a reward, $100,000 to who could ever capture Jefferson Davis. Okay, so I don't know how this can happen. How can you go after somebody and say there's going to be a reward paid out of what we get when we catch him? Seems kind of sketchy to me. So the research started to focus on how is it that we can create a reward with funds that we really don't have yet. I guess it can be done. Apparently they did it. But it just seems kind of shaky to me. So the research went into how did this reward poster get printed? Very interesting, this reward poster. The reward poster was printed on May 6th of 1865. And in the reward poster, it very clearly says that Jefferson Davis, the capture of Jefferson Davis, will yield $100,000 to the captors, which, that's a lot of money back then, literally millions and millions today. So I started looking into telegrams that were sent back and forth between the certain generals, colonels. And what I found was quite interesting. The president offered the $100,000 reward. Edwin Stanton got into the mix. I see telegrams from him and to him from General Wilson and a General Upton. Now, keep in mind, General Wilson and Colonel Minty were in Macon, Georgia with their regiment at the time this all happened. So looking at these telegrams that were sent, they read a lot like emails. They say who they're from, and they say who they're to, but more importantly, they have the date And a lot of them have the time that the telegram was sent. So this is really interesting because there's no room for error in these telegrams. They're just as clear today as the day they were written. They were all compiled and put in a set of books called the War of the Rebellion. Extremely large collection of books. I think there's 100 books, and I believe there's right around 120,000 pages, over 1 million entries. So searching through these volumes, the War of the Rebellion, trying to find out how was this reward poster put together, really became a challenge. It was a lot of reading, a lot of dead ends, but what I was able to put together is how the reward poster was made, how it was orchestrated or authored. Keep in mind it was printed right in Macon, Georgia on May 6th. So the first telegram, I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see it. It really talks about, let's entice Jefferson Davis's men to turn him in. We're going to tell him, you can get paid big money if you turn in Jefferson Davis. They wanted him so bad, they thought that they may entice some Confederate soldiers to turn him in. I think that was the reason why they started down this road. So the next telegram basically says, offer for the captured Jefferson Davis a reward, but make sure you know it's paid out of the treasure, out of the gold and silver that he's carrying. The next telegram comes across and it says, we would like to kind of change this a little bit and offer the gold that Jefferson Davis is carrying with him. And it gets really sketchy, I mean really sketchy, to the point where General Wilson is talking or has a telegram communication with General Upton. And General Wilson says to General Upton, when he's asked, shall we use the Secretary of War's name on this poster? And General Wilson has an interesting reply. His telegram back says, no, do not use the Secretary's name, only yours or mine, and we'll suffer the consequences. Okay, so now the flags are flying. General Wilson obviously knew he didn't have authority to do that because he said, we'll suffer the consequences together. He's out on a limb and he knows it. So the next telegram comes just about a day and a half later on May 7th, about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I'll put it up where you can see it. But it says that the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, has approved the request to give all the gold and silver to the captors. So how does this work? You have a reward poster that was printed on May 6th that offers up all of the gold and silver Davis is carrying without authorization. Then they handed out that poster towards the end of the day on May 6th and then all day on May 7th. They didn't get authorization from Edwin Stanton, who had the authority to do that, until 6 o'clock in the evening on May 7th. So I'm sure those guys breathed a big sigh of relief once that telegram came through, because literally they were in trouble. Now, they may still be in trouble, because I'm not sure how it would work out with the legalities if you printed, published, and distributed information that wasn't approved. Now, does it make a difference that it was approved a day and a half later? Maybe, maybe not. But it's something that I can't answer. All I know is they offered it up, they didn't have authority, then Secretary of War Stanton gave them the authority to do it. Kind of like retroactive, if you will. So I find that very interesting. Here's something else that's very interesting in this whole process from Macon, Georgia with Colonel Pritchard. Pritchard makes it very clear in his report that he knew nothing officially about the reward poster or the $100,000 reward for the capture. He knew nothing about it. And I think his words were, "It was not for the glitter of gold that we went down to capture the Confederate president. It was not for the glitter of gold." But they went down there in one big hurry. When Pritchard describes in his accounting of what happened, he wrote a big report on what exactly happened. Well, what I found interesting was when he wrote that, it took him 40 hours to describe on paper what happened in 12. How could that be? How could it take somebody 40 hours to write down something that only took 12 hours to happen? Again, very interesting. It led me to believe, did more happen here? Is he trying to cover his bases? I don't see where it could take that long. So that was another puzzle. So we have Benjamin Pritchard saying officially he had no knowledge of the reward poster. But what's quite interesting was that reward poster was printed in Macon, Georgia, just before Pritchard and his men headed down for the capture of Jefferson Davis. What I found out later was that a fair number of the soldiers in that regiment were actually working in the print office when the posters were printed. So officially, Benjamin Pritchard may not have known anything about the reward officially. Unofficially, if his men knew about the poster, helped print the poster, helped distribute the poster, I don't believe for a minute that he didn't know about the reward. So on the bottom of the reward, they always say it's in the small print. On the bottom of the reward poster, and again, I'll put it up, the bottom of the reward poster says that Jefferson Davis is reported to be traveling with millions of dollars in specie. Specie means gold and silver. That will become the property of the captors. So, we have the 4th Michigan members knowing what that poster said because they helped print it, racing down to Irwinville, Georgia, looking for that gold, knowing it'll belong to the captors. So, was it for the glitter of gold? I'm pretty sure it was, because I'm pretty sure Benjamin Pritchard knew that the gold would belong to the captors, which was authorized by Secretary of War Edwin Stanton. So it brings in the question, was the Confederate gold stolen? At this point in my research, when I realized this, I could answer that and say no, the gold wasn't stolen. Not if there's documentation, which there is, and I've showed it, that those men earned that gold. They found that gold. I'm sure they took that gold. But I don't think they stole it. I think the closest we can come to describing the gold that Jefferson Davis was carrying, the gold and silver, was to say that it's missing. I think that would be the most accurate we could describe. We certainly can't say it was stolen. One thing puzzled me when I was trying to decipher, was this stolen? Was it found? Was typically if something is stolen, we know some things. We know who it was taken from. We don't know that in this case. We know where it was taken from. Again, we have no idea. We know who took it, or have a good idea who took it. Again, we don't know. We know exactly what was taken. But in this case, we don't know that either. So for me, it was all but impossible to say, missing all that, how could we say it was stolen? I've always said in the research, once I discovered this, that it's possible to take something without stealing it, but it's next to impossible to steal something without taking it. So, like I said, it changed the focus from these guys being thieves to these guys being soldiers, following orders, of which they did. And frankly, the reputation that I see with these gentlemen after the war really would tell me that I'm right on track. These men did great things. Benjamin Pritchard, he built schools, he was a school board president. All of these men helped the community. Thieves don't do that. Thieves take from communities. All of these men were respectable men. They did great things. Pretty sure in some way we probably all owe a debt of gratitude, because in some way I'm sure it's impacted us over the years, whether we know it or not. So, like I said, this video was exciting for me because it was a turning point in the research. I stopped looking at these men as criminals or thieves or bandits, and I started looking at them like soldiers following orders, doing what they were told, and probably succeeding. So I'm glad we got this video out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the first two. If you do enjoy the video, please like it, subscribe it, and share it with your friends if you think they might. And as before, thanks for watching, and we'll let you know when the next video is coming up. Take care.